Welcome to our in-depth tutorial on the United States housing bubble. Today, we are breaking down the complex phenomenon that shook the U.S. economy to its core, with clear examples and data-driven insights. To understand the housing bubble, we first need to understand what a financial bubble is. A bubble occurs when the price of an asset, housing in this case, rises rapidly to levels far beyond its intrinsic value. Let's start by looking at home prices from the early 2000s up to the peak of the bubble in 2006. Home prices increased sharply during this period, driven by aggressive lending practices and speculative investment. One significant driver behind the steep increase in home prices was the availability of subprime mortgages. Subprime mortgages were loans offered to individuals with lower credit scores, often with higher interest rates. To visualize the rise in subprime lending, let's examine the volume of subprime mortgage originations from 2000 to 2006. The abundance of these risky loans brought many new buyers into the housing market, increasing demand for homes. When demand increases disproportionately to supply, prices surge. Question time: why do you think lenders issued so many subprime mortgages despite the risk of default? Answer: lenders issued subprime mortgages because they could package these loans into mortgage-backed securities, MBS, which were sold to investors. This offloaded risk from the lenders to the investors. Let's look at a simplified example. If Bank A issues 1,000 subprime mortgages and packages them into an MBS, the risk of those loans defaults shifts away from Bank A to the investors who buy the MBS. This model seemed sustainable until housing prices began to decline in 2007. Once home values dropped, many homeowners were left with mortgages that exceeded the value of their homes, a condition known as being underwater. Let's look at the corresponding decline in home prices from 2006 to 2009. The decrease in home values resulted in a cascade of foreclosures, which further drove down home prices, creating a vicious cycle. Here's how foreclosure rates surged during the same period. The collapse of the housing market severely impacted financial institutions holding large quantities of these mortgage-backed securities. One of the most notable casualties was Lehman Brothers, a financial giant that filed for bankruptcy in 2008, marking a pivotal moment in the financial crisis. The Federal Reserve and U.S. government intervened with bailout packages to stabilize the financial system. Federal programs like TARP, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, were introduced to purchase toxic assets from banks. Question time: what was the primary goal of the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP? Answer: the primary goal of TARP was to stabilize the financial system by purchasing distressed assets and providing capital injections to weakened financial institutions. Now, what are the lessons we can learn from the housing bubble? 1. Importance of due diligence. Both lenders and investors must perform rigorous due diligence before engaging in financial transactions. 2. Regulatory oversight. Effective regulatory oversight is crucial to prevent unethical lending practices. 3. Diversification. Investors should diversify their portfolios to mitigate risks associated with specific asset classes. Looking ahead, these lessons can help shape policies and individual actions to avoid similar financial crises in the future. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this deep dive into the United States housing bubble provided you with valuable insights and lessons.